Hi everyone, it's me, Spring, the fiber enthusiast, and welcome to the channel. Today's tutorial is a tatting tutorial, needle tatting specific. You could do it with a shuttle if you so choose. If you are confident in shuttle tatting, you will be able to adjust this pattern to suit your needs. For us needle tatters, you will need a number 5 tatting needle, a pair of scissors, potentially a needle threader, and also 2 colors of thread. Now I'm using number 10 thread, and I'm using red and white, the basic drum. You could do blue and silver, red and gold. You could do all kinds of different things. But for today's tutorial, we are doing red and white. Now this is just a drum Christmas ornament. Let me see if I can get my hand out of the way so you can see through it. So in the center, the construction of it, the center of it is split rings, and we have some arches on each side to complete the drum. And then we have some chaining up here with some small little rings, and again up here to create your part to hang it from. Now you don't have to put this part in here. You could leave it just like this if you so choose, and hang it from one of the corners of the top part of the drum or the bottom. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We start with the split ring section. Now, if you've never done split ring, I encourage you to click on the little card up in the upper right-hand corner, and that will take you over to a tutorial that I did on how to achieve split ring needle tatting. That is the best to do first, and then come back to this tutorial, just so you get a basic idea of how it's accomplished and get a little practice session in first. You will see me doing it in the tutorial, but it won't be as in-depth as how I showed you in the tutorial specifically designed for teaching you how to do split ring. Okay, so I'm going to move some stuff out of the way here. And we're going to start with the center part. So red for me, whatever color for you. Now I won't be putting it on my needle right away because I need to work from both ends of the needle. You will need a good 18-20 inches of tail thread. When you're working from both ends of the needle, you do need more tail thread because you are going to be using it more than just creating rings and these little arches and chains and stuff. So I've got myself a good tail thread. Now when you're working this up, you want to make sure that the eye of your needle is always on the same end of your work as your tail thread. You do not want it facing the tail that goes to your ball of thread, or you will not be able to close up your rings. So we're going to turn that around and begin. Now I'm going to give you the first ring, and then you can create the next 2 rings on your own. So we're going to do the very first ring together. It is 4 double stitches. This is 3 and 4. Now we're going to create a picot, and now these picots do not have to be very big at all. We're just going to be connecting the bottom to the white part to the red, and then just connecting the 2 sets of split rings together. So the picots aren't designed for anything more than just connecting spots. So I'm doing just a small picot and 4 more double stitches. It's 3 and 4. Now I'm going to turn my work over, and I'll be using the tail part of the thread and creating the same exact thing we just did. So 4 double stitches. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, another small picot and 4 more double stitches. It's 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to put our tail thread through the eye of our needle and pull it through to form a ring. So each end is 4 double stitches, picot, 4 double stitches. Okay, so now we need to pull our tail thread through to form a ring. And I'm just going to grab hold of that so that way it doesn't go all the way through. Slide my work down, grab hold of that work, and pull that tail thread through till there's a loop around my fingers. Now I'm just going to go down and start sliding this work up that loop to make it smaller. Now it's small enough that I can pull my tail thread through that loop, like such, and then start tightening it up just a little bit here at a time. And you hold it between your finger and your index finger and your thumb and give it a little snug there. Okay, so that's your rings. So now you're going to turn your work so that way the ring is facing you. The top of the ring is facing you, and we're going to repeat with the point of our needle facing the thread that goes to the ball of thread, and you will repeat 4 double stitches, picot, 4 double stitches, and then turn your work over using the tail end of your thread and repeat 4 double stitches, picot, 4 double stitches. You will do that 2 more times to create those 3 split rings. Then we'll come back and do the arch and start down the other side. Okay, so once you've completed your last split ring, we're going to create this end piece and start up the other side. So for the very end, we're going to create an arch, and that is 5 double stitches. 2, 4, and 5. Once you have your 5 double stitches, you're going to pull your tail thread all the way through, creating this nice little curve. Now turn your work over, place a knot, and now we're going to begin down the other side, going back towards the very first split ring. When doing this, you're going to make sure that your tail thread that goes to the ball of thread is to the left. Also, your rings are facing to the left. And on the right-hand side is your working tail thread. So again, we're going to create the rings, except this time, after the 4 double stitches, we're not creating a picot or connecting here on this picot. So we'll go ahead and do that. 4 double stitches. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now to do that, you can use a small crochet hook. You can use the tip of your needle like I'm getting ready to do. So I'm just coming over to the picot on the very first picot we come to, and I'm sticking my needle in through that picot and pulling up that working thread from the ball of yarn. That's going to be considered a picot. So now we'll put 4 double stitches. It's 1, 3, and 4. And now we need to turn our work over and work the other side of that split ring. So 4 double stitches, picot, 4 double stitches. This side does not change. That's 4. Now a picot and 4 more double stitches. Now you'll rethread your needle. Okay. Once you have done that, get it all situated here. Once you have done that, now you will create your next split ring exactly the same way, connecting to your next picot. The same thing with the last ring, you will connect to the last picot. So go ahead and complete the next 2 split rings on your own, and I will come back and go over what to do next. Okay, so once you've completed your last ring, we're going to turn it over so that way the first ring is on our left, creating this teardrop effect, and we're going to place a knot there. Okay, now we're going to do the other end of the drum, which is just 5 double stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pull your tail thread all the way through. And now what you're going to do is you're going to find the center point of the very first ring. So the center top here. And you're going to, from the back side, pull your needle and tail thread through. Just like such. I'm going to turn my work and place a knot and then sew in my ends. All right, the hard part is done. Once you've sewn in your ends, I will go ahead and sew in my ends, and I will be back with the white and ready to show you the next part. Okay, so now we're back and we're ready to do the white. You're just going to pick an end, no big deal. Go ahead and thread your needle with your chosen color. For mine, it is, like I said, white. Now for this, you don't need but maybe 8 inches of tail thread. It doesn't take a whole lot to do this bottom piece or the top piece. So, about 8 to 10 inches just to be on the safe side. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create this little tiny ring first, then attach, then we work a set of chains, attach, a set of chains, attach, and finish with another little ring. So to do that ring, we're just going to do 5 double stitches. That's it. So place 5 double stitches on your needles, or on your needle. We're not knitting, we're tatting. It's 4 and 5. And remember, we're making a ring, so you're going to want to keep a loop here at the end to pull your tail thread through. And now this is a very tiny, tiny ring. Just a little itty bitty one. Now you're going to pick up whichever end you decide to work on first. I'm going to be working on this bottom section here. So I'm going to insert my needle from back to front through the picot. See if I can get this where you can see it, through the picot. And pulling that ring all the way up to the picot. Now I'm going to place my needle over the top of that picot where I'm connected here, just pulled through. You can tie a knot if you wish. So I'm going to place my needle there. Now we're going to do a bunch of chains, 12 to be exact. So all you're doing is going the same direction to chain. So we're just going to keep doing these half hitches all the way until you have approximately 12. And it's going to go around your needle and curl. And you can let it, like encourage it to go around the needle and do that. All right, so I'm going to count real quick. Okay, so I have 12. Bring this back over here. Going to pull your work down to the end of your needle. And again, if you're using a crochet hook to do this, you can so do that. I'm going to insert my needle into the next picot and pull that working thread up through that picot and tighten it down. Let me get this so you can see where we're at here. Okay, so here's where we're at. Our ring is at the first picot, which will tighten down when you pull your tail thread through. Then we have a set of 12 chains. We've connected to the next picot. Now we're going to do 12 more chains. So here we go. Okay, and now I'm just going to let it go around that needle like it naturally is going to want to do. Now we need to connect to our next picot, the last picot. There we go, just like that. Now you're going to pull your tail thread through all of that. And it's going to tighten down this little ring that we started with. But what you're going to want to do before you do the next step is adjust everything so that way it lays nice and neat and it's not drawn too tight. Okay. All right, now I'm going to turn my work and place a knot just to hold that all in place. There we go. And now we're just going to create that last and final ring here, which is just 5 more double stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pull that tail thread through, leaving a loop to bring your tail thread through. Tighten it down. And now you're going to place a knot and sew in your ends. Go ahead and continue on by doing that. Sew in your ends, cut away from your working ball of thread, and you're going to repeat that same exact thing on the other side. Once you're done with that, come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, for the next part, this part right here that goes in between the top and the bottom, I'll show you how I did it. And because this is an ornament, I'm not worried about a lot of stretching, tugging, pulling, all of that type of stuff. So I'm just going to take a scrap piece of thread that's long enough. I just laid it over the top and zigzagged over the top, and it's long enough. And I'm going to use it just like a sewing needle, just bringing a little bit through. And I'm going to pick an end here. And what I'm going to do is go under just a few stitches, just 5 or 6 stitches, something like that. I'm just going to go in, and I'm going in so that way my needle's going towards that little white ring that we did. So I'm just going to insert that needle into there. There we go. So I have it going into those stitches. Now I'm just going to pull this little piece of scrap until that tail is almost all the way into that those stitches there. Then what I'm going to do, which I accidentally pulled it off my needle, I'm going to rethread my needle real quick. Okay, then what I'm going to do, now remember, this is going to be starched. It's not going to be tugged and pulled on and all of that. You can totally tie this down here in a knot if you want to, and sew in the ends. That's completely and entirely up to you. But this is how I'm doing it. So I'm here at the beginning here, at this very beginning picot. I'm going to go up to the next picot, and I'm just going to run through that picot. And get it all situated so that way it's the way I want it. Then I'm going to come down to the next available picot at the bottom. And again, I'm just running the thread through that picot. So it'll go at an angle. Now I'm going to go up to the picot directly above it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to run the tail thread through there. And this can all be adjusted as you go, or right after you've, worked all of these little loops here, little picots. Now I'm going to go down to the next available one at the bottom and run it through there. And when you starch this and block it, you can make sure that that's all how you want it. And now I'm going to go up to the very last picot at the very top and pull it through that one. So now I have that zigzag effect. And I'm just going to turn it over and do the same thing as sewing in the ends. I'm just going to find a spot and work this remaining thread in through some stitches. Just going to adjust everything real quick before I cut away. There we go. All right. So now I'm just going to cut the remaining scrap off. And I'm also going to cut this little piece I left on the beginning here. Just going to cut that little bitty piece off and tuck it in. And now all you do is block it. Now for the top part that I made, so that way you can hang it from the Christmas tree with one of those little wire hangers. That is also very quick and easy to do. We're going to thread the needle once again with our contrasting color. And again, this isn't going to take very much thread. 8 to 10 inches is sufficient for your tail thread. Now what you'll do is pick up your little drum here and go to the very center picot here and pull that thread and needle through from the back side. And then we're going to do a bunch of chaining and create this around the needle like we did at the top and the bottom. We're going to do that right now. So go ahead and work 25 chains onto your needle. Okay, so we're going to pull our tail thread all the way through and cinch it down to the little drum. Like that. And now place a knot at the top if you so choose. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And now we're going to make another little tiny ring, but this time you're going to want to do 6 double stitches. And 6. And then pull your tail thread through and through the loop to form a ring. And then once you've done that, you're just going to turn it over, tie a knot, sew in your ends, and starch it. Now, I also have in my tatting basics 101 type videos in the playlist, what kind of starch I use, how I block things when I'm starching them, all of that kind of information, double stitches, how to do split rings, how I sew in my ends, all of that stuff is in that playlist of Tatting 101. You are welcome to go through that playlist. I will have it at the end of this video as a hyperlink that you can click on, and it'll send you straight over to that playlist. All right, so here is our little drum ornament that we just made by Needle Tatting. All right, everyone, I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and contact me. Let me know down in the comments section. Does that look like a drum to you? All right, everyone, be blessed, be a blessing, and until next time, bye for now.